Welcome to the Future of Teamwork podcast, where we explore cutting-edge strategies to keep teams human-centered, drive innovation, and empower you with the tools and insights needed to help your team excel and thrive in today's rapidly changing world. Your host is Dane, a seasoned expert with over 20 years of experience enhancing team dynamics and innovation. Today, Dane is joined by Christopher Filipiak. Christopher is a sales consultant and coach helping CEOs succeed at their own sales work. Tune in to discover, first, the CEO's role in sales. Engaging directly in the sales process builds market insight and drives pivotal deals that shape the company's success. Second, the importance of mindset in sales. A collaborative, client-focused approach grounded in clarity and curiosity helps foster stronger relationships and achieve better outcomes. Finally, decision-making as a growth skill. Teams thrive by embracing clear agreements, making decisive actions, and fostering change and growth together. So, teamwork makes the dream work, and we're here to inspire your next collaborative breakthrough. Gather your team or put on your headphones, and let's dive in together.
Welcome to the Future of Teamwork podcast. My name's Dane, CEO of the Huddle 3 Group, and today I'm joined by Christopher Filipiak. Christopher's a good friend. He's also a sales coach and consultant to CEOs, helping them create more success from their own sales work. And he's helped me a lot in the last 6 to 12 months too. So it's great to be having you on as a guest of the show, Christopher. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Dane. So happy to be here. It's a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to having an awesome conversation with you.
Me too. So I know a bit about your background, but for our guests' benefit, could you tell us about how you came to be doing this great work?
Yeah, for sure. So originally from the Metro Detroit area in Michigan, and fell in love with cars. And so studied engineering at U of M, and then went to work for Ford Motor Company as an engineer. So really studied people and machine systems and just how to use process to get stuff done. But I'd always tell my engineering managers that I loved people and money. And I'd always say, like, I want to be with the people and the money. And they were like, what does that even mean? We're engineers. And so I went back to school, got my MBA, and then ended up working for a $40 million global consultancy doing software development, marketing, revenue operations, and was one of the top salespeople there. And I kind of used those two experiences to start my own consulting firm in 2017, kind of taking that engineering background and that love of sales, because so much of sales is process, right? It's really understanding what your sales operation needs to be built out into and what that actually looks like to grow and add profitable revenue to a business.
Yeah.
So when I started, I just went around to all the CEOs that I knew and said, hey, can I sell for you on a fractional basis? That was my first idea. And I called it business development as a service. And I was really successful doing that, but had to figure out how to build up my own sales organization, my own sales stack, my own marketing stack to be able to sell for multiple companies at the same time. And that led me to understand, you can imagine coming from Ford Motor Company, which is so process driven, into like a small startup, the lack of process and systems and sophistication and maturity that were in those businesses. Mm-hmm. So I recognized that even though I was helping those businesses build or put some additional revenue into them, I wasn't helping them build a core competence around sales. And so that's when I started to come up with the idea of a sales-ready organization. And I was like, okay, here's kind of the fundamental pieces that are required to have a successful sales motion. And I actually worked to help out a lot of sales teams. And I think in like 2020, 2021, I worked for a larger consultancy as well as did my own market research into sales teams, revenue. Mm-hmm. And I was under the hood of about over 100 professional services organizations, marketing agencies, consultancies, other type of expert-based businesses, helping them doing deep dive sales organization assessments and really looking at what needed to be set up. And what I saw was when we looked at the goal revenue that those businesses wanted to hit, and then I would do the pro formas, what I saw was that on average, salespeople didn't work out very well for those organizations.
Yeah.
And a strong CEO led or founder led sales motion could oftentimes help the company achieve the revenue that it needed. And so I thought back, like even from my time when I was a W-2 employee doing sales, like that CEO still still contributed significantly in business development revenue, and they would knock off, $1 million deals here and there, like all year long. And so that's when I really started to focus my business around helping CEOs be consistent with their sales work and their sales activity, and helping them stand up a sales ready organization that they could either run themselves or have a team come in. The thing is, Dane, and we've talked about this in the past, is I'm not pro or anti sales team or having other people in the organization sell. I just think that the CEO and the leadership team should have a real competence around sales and be helping drive revenue for the business. And in earlier stage companies, even companies like Huddle 3 Group is managing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That competence, that learning, that mistake making that happens at the C-suite is what the business needs to figure out, right? Before it onboards a sales team and gets that going. So I built my business around coaching and consulting to do that. And my business is really simple. There's 3 basic parts. It's basically coaching, project-based consulting work, and then daily selling support for CEOs.
That's super neat. It's really interesting what you shared there, Christopher, about doing that research around how sales teams were working in businesses and realizing that there was a lot of swings and misses. I read a cool Harvard Business Review article years ago that talked about that phenomenon. And in fact, it went a step further, and it said when you bring in a sales leader from outside of the organization, often it takes them 3 years just to get settled, which is a long time for any business, particularly with how fast the world's moving right now. So this concept of being intentional about being in the sales work as a CEO or a founder, or at least as an executive leadership team, I think it's very relevant to where we're at right now in the world of business.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the statistics around salespeople and sales teams are pretty grim. It's like on average, founders and CEOs hire and fire 3.25 salespeople on average, and the cost to a failed salesperson is like $400,000. And if you look at, in your own role, your team, like you're ready enough to make sales today.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to wait 3 years for the senior salesperson. It's like you have people who are able to make sales basically starting today.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just about, we can talk about it more, but it's really about your mindset and having some very basic skills around creating and having sales conversations. But it's mostly the mindset that gets in the way. So
yeah. And we'll dive into the mindset and skill set in a minute on the conversations. But I think one other point that I want to dive into there that it makes me think of is that given how sales and marketing and product are all just coming together right now, because so many companies are having to adjust their offerings in the market cycle, having the leadership team, you said something really important earlier, kind of failing forward in their process, and having that knowledge that you just touched on, that they can make sales, they're ready to make sales, it seems like it's the right work to be doing if you're in a services industry in particular, because you've got to be right at that edge of the business, in how you can help customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dane. And so much of not so I mean, the business's job is to help clients, right? And you can't
yeah,
help clients unless you're selling them. And the lifeblood of the business is cash, right? So you need to develop a real competency around revenue, and you can't figure out what the market wants unless you're going out to talk to the market. So the the secret about making sales is it's partly market research, right? Because
yeah,
the 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 market, your offer, your team is changing all the time, right? Like it's not static. Like your environment is changing, right? And if you're not out there consistently talking with the market, you're missing out in two ways. Is you're slowing down your cash flow, right? And you're
hmm
also missing out on the learning and the knowledge that's going to allow you to build a better business and um, better serve your clients.
yeah. I agree with that entirely. And that point that you raise on cash is the lifeblood of a business, that's become even more critical in the last 12, 18 months with interest rates going up and there being some sales headwinds,
Mhm.
in the macro environment. And I
Yeah.
don't often see that teams respond quickly enough. When there's a shift in the market, when sales become hard, everyone just kind of works harder. You and I have had this conversation in the past. They just kind of plow more work into what's there rather than actually going and asking some more questions around, well, what's changing in terms of the help that this customer needs in their environment? How does that inform my shift in focus on how we're delivering services, or the phasing of the services, or the pricing of the services? So I think it ties into a point which we discuss with a lot of guests, which is, driving curiosity. When things get tough, don't just put your head down and ask for more activity from the team. Go out and get
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. Because if you just, when things shift or change, you know, doing more of the same isn't what's going to solve that for you. It's like you
Yeah,
got to start to look for a different opportunity, right? And you have to change, not that working hard isn't required, um but hard work isn't necessarily the cause of sales coming in. It's really about solving problems, recognizing different or new opportunities, going through the change and growth required to move into those opportunities, and also knowing how to receive from the market, right? That's
yeah,
where, like, you're trying to design your business so it's easy to receive money, right? And
yes,
that's one of the things that you want. And like working hard is not the path to like designing or building a business that is easily receives money. That's
yeah,
the other thing, is like money is easy, you know. We've
yeah,
been taught that it's hard, right? Good. We haven't learned a skill set around allowing money to be ease, but there's actually not really the struggle that we make it out to be. And the
100%.
you got to think that thought. You got to like know that as the truth before you can start to see that, because many people do struggle with money, but we're not designed to struggle with money.
Yeah.
So,
I'd love to dive into that a little bit
yeah.
more, that statement, Christopher, around money's easy and we're not designed to struggle with the money. So as you work with leaders and their teams, I know what you've done with us is really to try and get our mindset around, sales is synonymous with love, and we're gonna find what the customer needs help with, and we're gonna help them achieve what they want and do that work. How how does money come into that kind of teaming arrangement between a vendor and a customer once you really get aligned on doing the right work and helping them kind of attain that that life that they want.
I think there's two parts to that. I think the first part is just teaching yourself, both through having a new thought and through actual experience, that like the universe is abundant. The universe has your back, right? Like source energy is, and you're part of that. And looking at um as as like understanding like nature and the natural laws, and the fact that nature doesn't struggle and you're part of nature. And also understanding that money is something we all have the same amount of, meaning it's just a tool or an energy. It's not like it's infinite. Like I always tell people, they like print it off at the Federal Reserve, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like it's almost like this made up, it's something we invented as humans so that we could transact easier with each other, right? That's what it is. So, but if you're using money to change how you make decisions or live your life, then or how you feel, then you're using money for the wrong purpose. So there's that understanding around money. And then when we look at teaming, like between, you know, a service provider and a service receiver, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's deciding that you're not competing with that person, or they're not there. You're not trying to get anything from that person, and you're actually there to, I would say, create and help that person. And so many vendor relationships are adversarial, right? And all of that comes from a place of lack, right? And so it's going, look, like it's also for the service provider to go like, I don't actually need you, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm choosing whether I'm working with you or not, right?
Yes.
I know the procurement organizations probably don't like that. And I did procurement like at Ford Motor Company for a little bit. So like I understand how those big procurement organizations buy, but from a vendor is showing up like going, you said you want this. I can help you get that. This is the investment. The money's here. Do you want the help? And then just showing up to like continually providing that person you're serving like with the truth and helping them get to the result that they're trying to achieve. And if you show up like that, that makes for a good teammate. Like that's how you build a strong team, even if you're not like actually like even if you're quote unquote playing for different teams.
Yeah.
Right. So
and I love the way you draw attention to the word creating or creation there rather than competition, because I know in one of the books you recommended to me, The Science of Getting Rich, the Waddles book, it talked a lot about, hey, we've got to move from this competitive mindset that we're all chasing this scarce bucket of resources and we're fighting for it, to the creative mindset of, hey, we get an opportunity to partner, and you're going to transact with me because I'm going to give you help, and you're going to in return give me money, but you're going to get more money because my help's going to create abundance for you. And it is something that I think we've lost touch with, is just following that sort of energy and really having belief in the work that we're going to do. I think maybe in part because teams are overworked, so they don't really know how to attach value to any given stream of work or widget or whatever it might be. They're just like grinding, and they're in that scarcity mindset rather than thinking more broadly around creation.
Yeah. And as humans, we're here to create. Like, just look at the amazing things that we've done as like that chunk of nature, right?
Yeah.
Like we're like a slice of all of nature, right? All of source energy. And it's like, look at our capacity to create, right? And we're the highest form of life that we know about. And like, we're here to create. And then like we limit ourselves by by really thinking through this lack and this victim mindset. And if you don't work through that stuff, like that's gonna impact what you're doing on a team,
Yeah.
right? Like if
Yeah.
you're showing up on a team to get your personal needs met, or you're showing up on a team to get money from other people instead of going like, man, if we took money off the table, right? Or we
Yeah.
took like what other people thought about us, what would the coolest thing that we could create in this moment
Yeah.
be? And how would we
Totally.
show up? And what would that lead to? So yeah.
It would be cool one day. I don't know if it's blockchain or something else. It would be cool if you could actually directly track, hey, we did this work together and it created this value, and you're going to get these tokens as a part of the value creation rather than some arbitrary number that we came
Yeah.
up with. But we're a ways away from that.
Yeah. Or not. Whatever we choose. Whatever
true.
we decide.
True.
Whatever we
Um,
decide.
No, it is really interesting. And when you think about that creation, that human energy in creation, I mean, I've led a number of sales teams in my life, and I've had some great ones and I've had some mediocre ones. And often the great teams don't evolve around someone's awesome sales skills per se. They evolve around the fact that we're solving a problem in the market that creates energy for both the vendor and the customer. So, for example, we used to support major projects, and we'd bring these teams together and we'd build facilities in the middle of nowhere, and everyone got excited about doing that work. So it became much less about making a transaction. It became more about, hey, this project's happening and we get to pull these team members together and we support them to grow the team and to deliver the product or the project in that setting. It was interesting how the energy that's around you allows you to drive a better sales process and sales team.
Yeah. And that's actually the most important. That's like one of the most, or the most important thing is your energy and like what your intention is. Same for teams, right? Like what is the energy of the team? What is the intention of this team? And in sales, your energy has to be spot on in sales day in and day out.
Yeah.
Like other parts of the company doesn't need that same level of like energy. But if your clients, if you show up out of alignment or off or with a get energy or needing the money, your clients are going to feel that even if you're saying the right words, and they're gonna not buy because they're gonna be like, something's off with this human. Like I don't know what it is, but like I don't actually think they can do it. And Waddles talks about this as like the impression of increase. Like if you're not sharing that impression of increase, meaning I can actually help this person, they're going to be like, oh, I don't think this person can really help me. So that energy absolutely matters. Yeah.
I love that impression of increase. I thought that was brilliant in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's this confidence, it's this swagger, it's this belief that, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to build something that's great for all of us.
Yeah.
I think that's very cool on the energy front. And the fact that, as you mentioned, that energy is felt.
For sure.
A lot of people, I think, have been trained that sales has got to be like really upbeat, like, how are you today? Tell me more about the kids, your favorite football team, all of this kind of stuff and noise. But actually, the energy doesn't have to show up like that. It just needs to show up with this belief in finding the problems, finding the help that someone needs, and doing the work together.
Yeah. You know what I hate about that part of that, like the way sales is taught, is like it's manipulative, dude. Like even if you're like and so you end up manipulating yourself, you end up trying to manipulate the client instead of going, nope, we're here to find the truth. We're here to create clarity on if you want what you say you want, and if I can help you, right? And if I can help you, do it. But as soon as you start to, this is why, a lot of sales literature talks about this like idea of value and rapport, know, like, and trust, right?
Yes.
Which, I'm not, those things are important, but they come from such a get energy. It's verse like going, no, I'm valuable. I have rapport. People like me. I'm one with life. The money I need is here. I'm
Yeah.
taken care of. I'm showing up unattached, here to help. Right. And when you show up like that to give those things to your client, you're going to create that naturally through giving good conversation. But when you're like, oh, I have to build rapport. Oh, how are the kids? Blah, blah. And the client is like, what are we
Draining.
even talking about? I don't want to talk about that. I want to get promoted, or I want to open up this division, or I want to buy a Jaguar, right? Like whatever.
Yeah.
They have their own things. And if you just lean in to talk about what really matters to them, like you're gonna receive those things. You don't have to get anything in a sales conversation. So.
Yeah. That's very cool. No, I like that. Give energy. That fits really well. Going to conversations. Tell me a little bit more about how you find teams have better conversations around sales processes, no matter what they're selling.
Well, like with their clients or with each other?
More with the client. So if I'm out selling to a customer and I'm really trying to engage them and move a sale opportunity forwards, a lot of people have been trained how to sell the features and benefits of their offering.
Yeah.
But my understanding of the work with you is that actually it's very like you-centric in the mindset of the customer. So maybe you can explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to have a sales conversation is really understanding that you're there to create clarity, and the clarity you're looking to create for the client is the truth of what they really want. And if you can help the client get clear on what it is they want and their commitment to have it, that's such a gift in a sales conversation, because we weren't taught that it's okay to want what we want when we were little children. So it's actually hard to be honest about what it is we actually want. And then we're trying to figure out how to buy features and benefits instead of being clear about what it is we're actually trying to accomplish or what we ultimately want. And kind of focus on those features as buyers, focus on those features and benefits as like a stopping strategy, instead of like looking at like, okay, well, what I really want is this. And then you as the service provider going, oh, I can help you get that, right?
Yeah.
Or I can help you receive that. And this is what that would look like, and taking them through that process. Because that person, when you're talking with them, that person wants change and growth. When someone's buying, they want change and growth, but they're scared, Dane. Like change and growth is scary. So you have to help influence them through their own fear into enough urgency to be willing to make the change and growth. Not to buy your product necessarily, because your service or product is just a vehicle that helps them make that change and growth, right? But the key with sales conversations is helping the client get clear on what they want.
Yeah.
And if you're fit to help them, and if you get really good at doing just that, like you'll make a lot of sales and you'll help a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's how I think about that.
I think you capture that really well. That's certainly a big reason I enjoyed engaging you in the first place, enjoyed working with you, is that it actually does put you both on the same team as service provider and service receiver, rather than, hey, I need to get this out of you and I need to get this out of you. It's just a pure play transaction. You're totally on the same team. It goes back to that piece on that increase that you're creating for each other. And I think the really cool piece there is that a few people that I follow in the world of pricing and sales, there's Casey Brown, who does a lot of work on pricing, and she would always say, buyers are liars. And it's
Mhm.
not that they're intentionally liars, it's just that they're very guarded, to your point. They're not comfortable with saying what they really want. And they're kind of just going out off a spec sheet of, hey, I need these things, but that's not actually what they need. It's what they want. And then I know Dan Pink always used to talk about the shift in information, and he said, what used to be buyer beware is now seller beware,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
buyer has more information on what they really need than the seller
Yeah.
does. So there's some really interesting dynamics that are happening in modern life that
Yeah.
mean that helping the customer, teaming up with the customer to help them create that clarity on what they want is such a powerful first step in building the relationship.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the cool thing to add into that, or to build on what you're saying, is that when they're clear on what they want, there's they start to compare the investment to what they want, not to other things in the market or things they've bought in the past. So you get out of a lot of the pricing problems and the objections
Yeah,
early
that's
on
huge.
in the conversation.
That's huge. And I guess you also get out of the feature and benefit
Yeah.
comparisons. I've been in so many conversations over the years with a customer, and they're like, well, I really like you, Dane, and I think you could really help me, but your product doesn't include this, and I think that's important to us. And they get stuck on something that
Yeah.
isn't real.
Yeah. And that stuff, again, that's just confusion. And that's why helping them that's just fear showing up. Like they
Yeah.
don't want to make a mistake, is what's going on there.
Yeah.
Right. And they want to make sure that the outcome is assured, which you can't possibly guarantee as well. It's like
No.
what you're buying gives you the best opportunity to achieve the result you want. And we're really good at what we do, and we can help you. And any of that, like, micro comparison isn't actually helping that client get to where they want. It's just a way to slow down and not make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And on that point, I love that you just said that slow down and not make a decision. Never have I seen as much decision fatigue as I've seen in the last 12 or 18 months. I think it's a symptom of like the post-pandemic environment. There is a lot of overwhelm out there in the world, and people are looking for any opportunity not to make decisions right now.
Yeah. Making decisions is like one of the most powerful capacities and competences that you can build, and it will change your life. And
Yeah.
it's scary, dude. Like, you can live a lifetime not making decisions, but the first step to any change and growth is making a decision,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And like I said earlier, there's like, you can't get, like, you're gonna make mistakes like that. Then you want to build capacity around making decisions. And the this is like a trick of the subconscious, is like the fear you're experiencing or the pain you're experiencing around decision fatigue or not making a decision is actually worse than if you just went ahead and made the decision. Right?
100%. Yeah.
Right? Like, because once you're going to feel amazing once if you make a decision and it's the wrong decision or something bad happens, you're actually going to feel better than like not making the decision.
I
Like, you
agree.
like, make the decision, make the mistakes, make the next decision, like, keep moving forward. Right? And
Yeah.
that's the way to. And you can tell the people that are slowing down, like, look, like, I get it's not easy to make decisions right now, but you're going to feel way better once you make this decision. So, like, let's not wait.
Yeah.
And help people move through that fear.
I think that's right. And you coached me on this very early on, that often when we're making decisions out of fear, they're bad decisions. So like, whether that's a fear of missing out, and we're like, oh, I don't want to get this because I might miss out on a better vendor down the road. And then you don't deploy anything, and 6 months later, you never solve the problem. Now you really did miss out
Yeah.
because you made a decision from fear.
Yeah.
So I think having that awareness, that's what I've enjoyed about our working relationship, is that it's helping our our sales process and mindset and skill set, but it's actually creating just better decision making, competency and skill set across the business in all functions.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and you all have done incredible work in terms of like growing that awareness and that skill set. And I would say like, my mindset is a skill set, and like this, like clarity on what you want and how to make decisions are two of the most important mindset skills that you can master as a human, and they'll serve you in business and in your life and in your teams and in your family and with your clients and with your vendors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a crowd like throughout your life.
That's a pretty cool vision of hope for any team, right? If teams are allowing all of their members to get really clear on what they want and how to make decisions, then teams are just going to have this expanding impact, not just within the organization, but going home to their families and in the communities.
Yeah, because the team is going to learn how to change and grow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here. I think that's what teams are for. They're put together to accomplish stuff, and that's going to require change and growth. Right.
Yeah.
And the first competency of a team or an individual is like, how do you get clear on what you want? How do you make a decision?
Yeah.
Right? And then I know we talked about it before we jumped on the show. But I think one other thing that's important, and we'll tie this in, is like, how do you make agreements? Like like having clear agreements. And so like one of the first decisions that the team should make is like, we're going to have clear agreements and we're going to do what we say we do. Meaning we're going to keep our word.
Yeah.
Right. Like that, like clarity on what you want, decisions, agreement, keeping your word to your agreements. Like I think that's the core of a successful team, whether it's with whoever it's with, whatever humans are coming together to make up a team.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that book, The 4 Agreements, that you shared with me, because it sets such a good basis for teamwork in terms of being impeccable with the word and not overdoing things, and just really creating and protecting that energy of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, and not taking stuff personally.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. And actually that drains a lot of energy out of most teams, I think. It's often misplaced.
For sure. Like if you could just own your own stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of projecting over your teammates or like.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
So.
Well, I mean, we've covered so many good topics here, from the importance of leaders making sales and having success from their own sales work and how they engage with customers and their teams. We talked a lot about, designing a business that finds it easy to receive money, and the fact that, the money is just a way of transacting, and we should really be focusing on the increase and the creation. And I think that change and growth is really the big kind of consistent theme in all of this conversation and work that we've been talking about, whether it's about sales or how teams work together or how they make decisions. So many cool parts of this conversation. I'm looking forward to reliving it when I get to listen to it in a couple of weeks on a drive. But if any of our guests want to check in with you, Christopher, about your consulting and coaching work, how do they best find you?
Yeah, the best way to find me is at my website, ChristopherFilipiak.com, or on LinkedIn as well under ChristopherFilipiak.com.
Awesome.
Or not Christopher, just LinkedIn /Christopher Filipiak.
Got
so
it.
Either of those ways you can find me.
We'll make sure to link you in the show notes too when we do the release.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Dane. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope it was valuable to your audience.
I'm sure it is. And I had a great deal of energy and enjoyment from the conversation too. Thanks, Christopher.
You're so welcome. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Remember that by embracing vulnerability, trusting our intuition, and approaching challenges with compassion, we not only strengthen our teams, but also pave the way for a future where collaboration thrives. If you're hungry for more insights, strategies, and research on collaboration, head over to thefutureofteamwork.com. There, you can join our mailing list to stay updated with the latest episodes and get access to exclusive content tailored to make your team thrive. Together, we can build the future of teamwork. Until next time.